this segment is a bit different from what I normally do. I usually just record myself talking about a particular topic, but just to give you guys a little background, a couple of days ago, I posted on my Instagram story that I had come up with an Excel sheet that kind of helped you track your personal finances in order to help you be smarter about your spending. And I got a lot of positive feedback, and a lot of people wanted access to that sheet. So I decided to give it out for free, of course. And I decided to make a follow-up video on how to use it because I think because of some of the ways that the formulas are made and some of the process flows, it might be difficult to follow. But if you follow through with me, I would recommend that you open it up on your laptop and open up a separate screen for this video if you can, or just watch this video on your iPad or your phone and just follow through with me. And if you follow through with me, I guarantee that you will figure out exactly how it's done. And you can even add your own twist to it. You can add your own modifications to help make it even better and improve upon the system, because that's what we want to do at the end of the day. So I'm going to start off by giving you a brief overview over each single sheet and what each sheet is supposed to do. Then I'm going to run some examples. And when I'm running examples, I want you to also follow through with me and also run your actual data in there with me. And then together we can kind of work on our sheet. And by the end of this video, we'll have something that can help us get a better picture of what our finances are looking like. So I'm going to briefly go over each sheet and tell you what it does. This is the income sheet. This is where you list your employee. You list, sorry, your employer rather. Let me correct that. So it's your employer, and you list the month. The month is listed here. You list your income for that month, and then the system will automatically sum that up and also replicate that information on other sheets. So that's what this sheet does. And your expense sheet, this is where you list your expenses. Top here, and you see that I have a bunch of notes here to kind of help guide you. Top here is where you list your expense categories and the amounts. For fixed expenses, you can list them up here. For expenses that are variable, you can just put a 0 because that will change from time to time. So you list those here. I can get into how I set up this table, but you don't really have to worry about that. Don't worry about the month column that says January. Once you type in a date here, it will automatically switch to suit the month. It's just code that I have in there. I have an index here of the month and the number, the month and the number, so that's what corresponds to. Because there's nothing here as of now, that's why you see this here in January, so don't worry about that. And just to go for it, if you see any zeros or reference errors, that's just to show that the data is not in yet. So once you populate the data, everything will start to make sense. And the expense by category pivot is just a pivot table that I made. This is the actual pivot table. It's up here. So once you put in your data from the expense sheet and you refresh it, you're going to start seeing numbers here and allocated to certain expense categories that you indicated over here. So that's how that works. So each time you put in an expense, you want to go back, hit summary, right click, and just hit refresh, just to refresh it to make sure your numbers are accurate. The table down here is just solely for graphing purposes, so I just replicated the numbers up here and put them down here. And I referenced the cell. I didn't type in the number, I specifically referenced the cell. And you want to do this for the next couple of months that are coming up. When you have your April, your May, your June, July's. I did it up to March, so I just referenced them as necessary. They'll show up here, and once they show up here, you just hit the equal to sign, and then you just reference them here, down here. So you hit equal to down here, then you click on the cell that you want, and you just replicate that across, and you're good to go there. Visualization metrics, that's just the graphs. So I have a pie chart that pops up for every single month. We have January, February, March, April, May, June, so on to December, and it does it automatically. You don't have to touch a single thing on there. So you shouldn't even be touching anything on this page because it's from January to December. So everything's down here to December. Yeah, December is right there. So as long as you're populating your data from the first two sheets and you're copying them down right way on the third one, everything should be automated. You shouldn't have to do anything on your end. So I just went through visualization metrics. Then you have your monthly cash flow. This combines your monthly total expenses as well as your total income to tell you what your net cash flow is, whether you're in the negative or you're in the positive. It tells you whether maybe for the month of February you spent more than you actually had coming in, so you're at a deficit. So it kind of gives you an idea to better spend. And I have twin bar graphs here. The one of them is the total expenses. The blue one is the total expenses, and the slightly orange one is the total income. So it kind of compares both and gives you an idea. This is for the cash flow. If it goes up, you see that you have a positive cash flow. If it goes down, you see that you have a negative cash flow for that month. So that's just a brief overview of the entire sheet. So I'll go through one by one. If you haven't already pulled up your sheet on your computer, please pull it up. You can pause this video here and pull it up while we get ready to go through it. So let's start. Employer, let's say I work for Amazon, right? And Amazon pays me twice a week. So let's say to make things simple, we have a bi-monthly pay period, right? And each month they pay me, let's say, bi-monthly pay period. Each month they pay me maybe $2,000. I have specifically noted the payments now separately, so I can kind of account for them individually. So bi-monthly they pay me $2,000, right? So I list 2,000 here, right? And see that it pops down here, and I list 2,000 again here. And let's say we're in March now, right? So they paid me 2,000 again in February, and like that, 2,000 again, 2,000 again, right? So I get paid 4,000 a month from Amazon, right? And let's say I have a side hustle. Let's say you develop websites on the side, right? So, and from that, on average, you make about, let's say, 500 a month, right? Make 500 a month on that. So you make 4,500 a month in total, right? So that's your income sheet. That's as much as you have to do. If you have various streams of income, you can list them individually as much as you would like, as often as you would like down here. I like to list them separately so I know what I'm working with. But the important thing here is to make sure that you use the sum function here to sum up all your individual sources of income. And I've already done that, but sometimes people have longer lists than I have provided. All you do is just click here, right click, insert a cell. Once you do insert a cell, another cell is going to pop up, and then you can just include that on there, as many as you'd like. So that's it for this section, and I have some notes here. It's just simply to input all of your monthly income streams, and if you get paid bi-monthly or bi-weekly, you note them accordingly as often as you get paid. So each payment would be one listing that you will list here, and that'll be pretty much it for this section. So this is pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, leave a comment below this video, and I'll be more than happy to reach out to you about it. And yes, if you have any questions at all, just please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support so far. And I'm trying my best to make sure that I put quality content out there for you guys. And just even making this sheet was just definitely for you guys to just help you spend smarter. So I really appreciate the form of support that you can give. I would really like if you guys could subscribe, like, comment. Anything would be appreciated. So that's it for the income sheet. I'm going to move on to the expense sheet. Now the expense sheet is a bit more involved, so I would like for you to follow with me. What I have here, essentially, I have the date, I have the vendor, I have the expense category, which I made as a drop-down menu over here, and I have the amount here. Don't worry about the month ID and the month. That's automated. That will change accordingly. So the expense category, you're going to list your expenses. I would usually prioritize you listing your fixed expenses and then list your variable expenses under those as well. So let's say fixed expenses, you have rent, right? I have tuition, maybe. I have something like my phone bill, right? My internet bill. Internet bill is listed below. Let's see, what are the bills? You have a food budget. So let's say you have a food budget. It's not really a fixed budget, but you have an average of a threshold of what you don't want to spend more than. Let's see, you have a, let's see, what else is a fixed budget? Let's see, a car payment, student loan payment. Let's see, and you have, let's say you have a gas budget. So for your rent, let's say you pay maybe $700 a month. Your tuition, you're paying monthly installments of say $500. Your phone bill, you pay $80 a month. Internet bill, you pay maybe $65 a month for high-speed internet. Your food budget is about $450 a month. Your car payment is about $680 a month. Your student loan payment is about $270 a month. And your gas budget, with these gas prices, let's say 200. Wait, 200 might be too high. But it's not. It's very plausible. So 200 for a gas payment. So after you list all of them, what you would do is you would hit total here. You would type in total, then use the sum function. Now this is how the sum function works. You would hit equal to, hit sum, open bracket, then you go to the top of the cell, you highlight the entire thing, and you close the parentheses. Then it sums up everything for you. So this example that I used is just for fixed expenses, right? But let's say that we wanted to include, and you want to add a difference. All you have to do is just hit insert. Let's include some variable expenses, right? Let's say, let's add a miscellaneous, right? Miscellaneous, we'll put 0. When you put 0, it just shows up as a null. And let's say we have let's say charity, right? Charity, we don't have a specific budget. So we have this listed here, but charity, obviously, when you go to your pivot, you go to all the extra stuff. You see on there that charity is listed on the pie charts and stuff. So if it's not listed here, don't worry too much about that. And also, one thing you have to be careful of is when you're kind of like I did here, when I made I inserted 2 cells. Notice how there's open spaces here and open spaces here. It's not a problem. You just have to drag this down here, go to the line here, hit the bottom right corner, and just drag it down. So the same code can be replicated all the way down. Same here as well. Same code can be replicated all the way down, and then boom, you're good. I had an account function here because I inserted 2 cells. It's kind of messed up right now, but don't worry too much about that. I will just correct. You can just correct that by just clicking on one and dragging it down, and boom, you're done, right? So just to help you guys get a better idea, we're gonna go ahead and start listing some expenses. So let's say in rent, right? Let's start with rent. So let's say you pay on the 1st of every month, right? So that means January 1st you paid, February 1st you paid as well, and then on March 1st you paid your rent, right? So let's say your landlord. And if you ever type in the same thing, you can always click on one and drag it down to fill out the rest. And your expense category, you can list it as rent. So when you go to expense category and you hit the drop down, you see that everything that I listed on the left hand side is listed here. So you categorize it. So try to categorize it as accurately as you can, because that's really important going into your pivot table as well as your graph. So try to make sure that everything is accurate when you type it in. So your rent here is $700 a month. These days I don't know where you would go to get rent for $700 a month, but $700 a month is rent. Oops, let me type that in. $700 a month. So rent is listed. Tuition. So same thing with tuition. We pay tuition in January, we pay tuition in February, we pay tuition in March. Let's type that out. And you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. What you should be doing now while I'm doing this is actually typing in your monthly expenses, right? What I would encourage you to do, if you have a credit card, get your credit card statements. If you have your bank statement, get your bank statements, and just get a hold of all your transactions and start listing all of them in here. Start with your January to March ones to make sure that you have an idea of kind of how the system is working. So you should just be following along with me with your own filling your own stuff here. And now let me correct that to March. So here we have our tuition. Let's say you go to Hogwarts. Okay. And you pay your tuition to Hogwarts. How much do you pay? You pay $500 a month, right? So tuition, categorize it as tuition. Here, oops, not rent, tuition. So $500, $500, $500, right? Now your phone bill and your internet bill. So you would do the same. And you see here that I'm having to put in the same things over and over again. That is just a life lesson here that you should always try to log in your purchase or spending data the minute that you spend it. Don't wait till the end of the month to start putting it in, or it's going to make it tedious to kind of get all of it done at the same time. So let's look at that here for phone bill. Let's say we have Verizon. Verizon here. And let's say we have well, actually not Xfinity. They're the same thing. You want to find something that has nothing to do with Verizon. Let's say we have AT&T. Though I'm not sure if they have anything to do with Verizon. But anyways, so phone bill here, phone bill here, internet bill. And notice that the minute that you type in something for the first time, when you type it in for the second time, it pre-fills it for you, so it makes your life easier, right? So you have $80, $80, $80, $65, $65, $65. So we have the phone bill, internet bill done. Let's look at food budget, right? Your food budget, obviously, you wouldn't type in a total budget for food. You wouldn't type in 450 here as a max, right? You go, let's say you went to, let's say in January switcher January 24th, right? You went to Chick-fil-A. And I know a lot of people love to go to Chick-fil-A, you know, the spicy chicken sandwich meal, if you enjoy that. When somebody got Chick-fil-A, you know. So let's put that in. That cost me about, say, for an entire meal, plus maybe some stuff on the side, it cost me about, say, $12, right? Let's say I went the next day, I went to Chipotle, right? And I'm a big Chipotle fan, so I know Chipotle, if you get a chicken bowl, it costs you exactly $9.12 if you include tax. So that's that. And let's say that on the January 27th, I donated to a nonprofit, right? So let's say I donated to Salvation Army or something, charity, right? I donated maybe $500. I list that on there. Let's see, and then let's say, oh, forgot about the student loan payments. So your car payments, your student loan payments, you have to get done. So we're gonna do those quickly. So I'm pre-sending the dates up right now, so I can just fill them in with the necessary categories. All right. So car payments. Let's say you have Toyota Financial. You have got a Toyota that it's financed. Toyota Financial. Student loan payments. Sallie Mae. Yeah, you got Auntie Sally coming after you, so you gotta pay your loans, man. All right. So now you have your vendors listed. Now you go to your categories. So now you type in your car payment. You just, as long as it reflects what you have on your left side, you're always good to go. So car payment. Now you have student loan payment. Oops, student loan payment. Car payment is, I said it was $680 a month. Student loan payment was $270 a month, right? So I would 680, and then we would list 270. All right, so now let's say gas in January. And gas, of course, gas is kind of like food, right? You would probably get gas on a bi-weekly basis or what, or so on and so forth. So let's say in January, just to keep things simple, I just put one gas purchase per month just to keep things simple. And then we'll just go from there. And note that when you list your fixed expenses, these numbers here, you're not really going to do anything specific with them. It's just for you to see how much it costs you at the very least to kind of operate on a monthly basis. So let's say I went to ExxonMobil that in January, and I went to Shell in February, and then now I'm going to BP Gas in March. I list this as gas, and then it cost me maybe $60 to get a full tank. In these gas crises that we're kind of seeing now, it's very plausible. And the second time it cost me maybe 56. Third time it cost me maybe, let's say, what, 57, just to keep things simple. So you have gas accounted for. So we have pretty much every budget accounted for, and we're covering about everything. I think the only thing left is I'm gonna list some more charity and some more food for the February and March, just so it looks a bit realistic. Let's see. So February, let's say 7th, February 13th, 14th is also fine, I guess. Miscellaneous, I'll list some purchases for miscellaneous as well. Let's say March 15th, 16th, okay. And March 15th as well. So let's say on February 3rd, I went to get some food at, let's say, Kava, for instance. So Kava food budget, Kava, and the whole bowl cost maybe $13.50, right? And then February 7th, I had to go pay for repairs on my vehicle, for instance, right? So let's say I went to Tire Town. Let's just call it Tire Town, right? I listed as miscellaneous because I only listed as miscellaneous because I don't have a dedicated section to car repair. When you have a business and you're kind of accounting for your expenses, if you're a fleet-based business, you want to have something like car repair, insurance, let's say, for instance, gas. You want to have those listed as categories. So it really depends on what categories you're focusing on and what categories that your spending habits revolve around. Those are the ones you're going to list. So let's say car vehicle repair. I need to get to new rotors and brakes, and it costs maybe $457, right? In February. On February 14th, I had to go pay for my graduation gown, right, and regalia. So let's say you went to Hogwarts. So miscellaneous, and they charged $200 for that. On March 16th, I got some more food. Let's say I got some Asian food. Let's say I went to that's a realistic China House, which is one that's actually close by my house. Let's see, it's food budget, and it costs me about $15, right? And then I have one more where a miscellaneous purchase or a charity. Let's say charity, for instance, where I gave to Red Cross, right? Red Cross, list that as charity, and I gave about $150, right? So now I have enough filled out to cover 3 months, enough that I can actually see some visualization data on the other Excel sheets. So just to kind of provide an overview, we listed these out, and then we start listing our expenses. So again, you want to pull all your data from your bank statements and then just type it in here. It's pretty simple and straightforward. You get the hang of it. Notice that when I typed in all the dates here, it reflected here. Notice how like January matches February, January matches January, sorry. February matches February, March matches March. So that's how that works here. So the minute you type in a date here, it's going to reflect here, so you don't have to worry about it. I made these sections so I could later on set up a pivot table. So that's it for this section, and we're going to move on to the next section. The next section is the pivot table I was talking about. So the pivot table here is to help you get a monthly breakdown of how you're spending, right? Expense-wise, how you're spending. So right now it looks like it's error reference errors. So you have to refresh it. Every time you put in new expenses, you have to go back and refresh the pivot table. So let's refresh it and see what's going on. Boom. So now you see it here. So now you see what you're paying for every month. So see here for your food budget. In January, you spent $21.12 on food. February, you spent $13.50. March, you spent $15. For your gas, you have $60 in January, $56 in February, $57 in March, which matches what we did on this expense sheet. So what it does is it takes all the data here and then just throws it back at you in more simplified terms to kind of give you data that helps you kind of look through and kind of see, actually visualize how much you're spending. Because a lot of times we actually waste a lot of money because we don't know where the money is going in terms of expenses, right? So phone bill, you kept up with your phone bill, so they didn't cut your phone, they didn't cut your internet either because you kept up with your internet bill. You gave 500 to charity. In January, you get 150 in March, which you can actually claim on your taxes if you have documented proof. You have 680 card payments. You pay that each month. Your student loan payments, you kept up with that. That's good. So what it does here is here it tells you your grand total for how much you spent. You spent that much based on all the expenses you put. So the more accurate that your expense sheet is, the more accurate these numbers are. So in January you spent $2,876.12. In February you spent $3,021.50, and in March you spent $2,517. Right. So that's what we have overall here. So that's what we're going to do. And here, if you see that you're having issues here, don't worry at all. You just have to reference them. So let's say, for instance, here I have January, February, March, right? So I would go in here, I would hit the equal sign, and then I would click on this, and then I would reference it directly, right? I will reference it directly from where it's at. So hit the equal sign here, hit that, and you can also drag it down to fill out the bottom one. So once you get the first one linked up, hit the equal sign here, hit the first one, just drag it down, and it replicates the rest of them. This really helps for big data sets, so you're not going through each one and individually filling it out. Oops, it looks like if it didn't do that, reference each one individually, and it does that sometimes depending on what sentence you have it on. So we for the sake of time, we hit equal to here, we hit this, and always make sure that you're referencing the cell, so when the numbers change, these numbers down here change as well. We didn't give anything here, so clear those off. Let's see, there we go. Your rent, you just reference this, and because rent stays the same every month, you're good to go on that. Then you can drag this down here and be good to go on that. Your tuition, you can drag these down, good to go here. If you get a lot of hashtag, that means that your space column is too small. You can open it up a little bit, and then it will show you. This is a blank, so there should be nothing there. It's just that before I recently set up this sheet, I had things assigned when I was testing it out. So because I know I took off all the data points, it's still using that old method when I'm no longer using that. So that's where that's from. So you just match the phone bill one as well. 80 here, 80 here. And you can also just drag it down and do the same for, let's see, charity is over here. But you should actually match it with your phone bill. We have to just create more sections. So if your sections don't match, you just have to create more sections. This is just solely to help you graph it. So you have your charity here, you have your card payments here, and I'll make a grid to clean that up. Student loan payment, and you can include a total section if you like. I would include just because so it makes everything that we're doing uniform. You will highlight the entire thing, make it in bold. I like to have bold when I have my topic, my headings rather. So you go here, I highlight everything, and then I include borders in there so it looks nicer. Charity, let me open that up so I can see the numbers. Okay. So yeah, so again, I have to make sure that the cell referencing is accurate before I move forward so my data is not messed up, right? So you go reference this, and this is a one-time thing that you do to make sure that the rest of your work is always correlated and makes sense, right? So charity and reference this cell, February reference this cell. Let's do the same here. You reference the cell here. Oops, not like that. Let me clear that up. And the reason why you have to reference this, so the whole point of you referencing this is because everyone's categories are different, right? The number of categories that you may need might be different from the number of categories that I may need. So you need to do some like upfront housekeeping to make sure that the sheet works for you, and it works specifically for what you want it to do. So that's why we're going through each one, making sure that we're referencing everything accurately. So let's do the same for the grand total. That's the grand total. Let's reference that. Let's reference that. Let's reference that. And you can go back and highlight the entire thing. Oops, not like that. Yep, let's go back, reference this again. Let's go back, highlight the numbers, and make sure that they have the $sign next to them. We go up here, click on that, boom, and then it's done. So we've referenced everything. Anytime that you add a new month, let's say we were in April, right? Let me do something real quickly for April. Let's say April 5th. You paid your rent on April 5th. And you paid $700, right? And then you paid your tuition. Oops, on April 5th, you paid your tuition as well. Tuition was $500. All right, so that we at least have data for April 5th, right? Once you refresh your pivot table, now includes data for April, which is right here, right? So your tuition and your all you would do when you have a new month, you would just go to the cell, hit the equal to sign, reference it. Same thing here, reference it. And again, the bottom table is to help us graph everything. So the more accurate it is, the better off you are, and the less work you have to do on the back end. So now we have that done. So everything looks good here for now in terms of our budget. And the great thing about this is not only does it give you your total spend in terms of like horizontally your total spend for that month, it also gives you your total spend in a particular category over the past 3 months, so you can kind of see your spending patterns and see what you need to change to help you spend smarter, right? So now let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the graphs. So the visualization metrics are that's the fourth sheet. That's right here. Okay. See, so now that I filled out this information here for January through March and April, I have this stuff here. So we have tuition form 35% of my expenses, rent form 49%, my internet bill form 5%, and I have a bunch of other ones. And you can clean up this to make it look like what you want it to look like. Each one tells you how much exactly when you look at the data labels. So it tells you the percentages exactly of how much each one is, right? So you can open that up to see these are the labels a little more. You can actually take the labels off if you would like to, if that helps you as well. So in February we see the different percentages. In March we see different percentages, and in April we'll see different percentages as well. Yeah. So in April, for instance, you would just hit select. Anytime you try to graph something that you don't see, you hit right click, hit select data. You go back to your pivot, which is right here. Then you select the month that you would like. You first select the top part, which is the heading. This would be your y, what you would call your y-axis if you want to call it that. It's not really a y-axis. So you would select this. Let's see, let me cancel that really quick and see what's going on with this. Okay, right click, hit select data. Okay, so you would select this, all this, hit command. Hitting command when you're selecting data allows you to select data right sorry, data that's not right next to your first point. Well, in this case, it should be April. Oops, sorry. So let's do that again. Let's select the first one, the first category. Let's end at student payments. Student loan payments, hit command. Oops, I think I'm messing it up here. Let's go back. All right, so let's try this one more time. So hit select data, hit the first category right here. I don't know why it's not. Okay. Then hit command. Let's do the bottom one. I keep doing March. Okay, let's do it again. There we go. So command. Okay. Sorry about that. I think I have a handle what I'm doing now. Now let's go down here. Yep, got it. April, right here. You can include grand total. You can not include it if you want to. Hit OK, and now you're good to go. If you include a grand total, it's going to show it here. So typically you want to avoid using it, using a grand total, so you can see exactly what your parameters are. Here we have a when you look at the labels here, the yellow is the rent. So this is your rent. And the blue is your tuition. This is your tuition, because those are the only two major expenses that we listed for the month of April. So that's how that would work. It's pretty simple overall. But the important thing here is that anytime you get into a new month, you have to reference the sheet, reference the cell here, and then that can help you make the graph. You can actually go ahead of time, and I'll actually do this before I share the sheet with you guys. I'll go ahead of time and actually make sure that the sheet matches the cells matches the graphs. But I think it might be better for you to do that yourself, because the more you add your months in, the more your pivot grows, and when your pivot grows, the cells shift, and that can cause a problem. So you want to actually just reference your cells and then use that to graph it. Again, if you want to graph it, all you would do is click on the blank graph I provided, right click, hit select data. When you hit select data, you first highlight the first section here, right? Hit command, hold on command, so you can hit a section that's not right next to it. If it's right next to it, you don't have to hit command. So you can do that here, and then you hit OK. Boom. Right back at where we started. So that's it for here. So you do that, and you replicate that across all the months. So you get to August, you get to September, October, November, December. You do that, and always give you an idea of the trend. So that's it for the visualization metrics sheet. It's pretty straightforward. It just gives you a visual representation of the numbers you're putting in. And now let's look at your last sheet, which is your monthly cash flow. Your monthly cash flow works in a couple of ways. The first way, it breaks up your total monthly expenses as well as your total monthly income. It finds the difference, and it tells you what your net cash flow is for that month. So as you can see here, my total expenses for the month of January was $2,876.12. My total income for the month of January was $4,500, and my net cash flow is $1,623.88. So this was money that I had disposable income that I left over. This is money that you can put in a Roth IRA. You can put this money in a brokerage account. You can put this in a 401k. You can put this one in a HYSA. There's a lot of things you can do with extra money. So in February, I had my expenses went up slightly. I had my expenses was total expense was $3,021.50, and total income was $4,500. The net cash flow is $1,478.50 for that month of February. Let's go to March. March, I had decreased. Let's see. Yeah, decreased expenses here, $2,517. And I had total income was $4,500 still. Net cash flow was $1,983. So that's the positive I walked away with. For the month of April. The reason why you see a negative here is because the the monthly income has not been input over here. So let's say, so we'll go back in, say April. We got to the first week, right? So we got the first half of April, so we only got $2,000, right? So it then tells you that your income for April, and you make sure that your sheet is accurately referenced here. So you'll go hit the equal to sign, and you reference the sheets at the bottom, right? You reference the sheets at the bottom. So that's here. You would just drag this here. The sum function, you just drag it to December, and you already have this done for you by the time you get it. You have this dragged to December, right? So when you type in your 2000, if I type in 2000 in May, 2000 in June, it's already done, right? 200. So when you have it this way, it's much more simple to get it done. So now that my monthly cash flow has been shown here, you see that I have what, $800 left, right? So that kind of shows you what your net cash flow is, shows you how much you could be saving. If you're a contractor, you definitely want to be saving this net cash flow, because that's what you're going to be saving some of this to pay your taxes the next tax season. So once you have this filled out, what it does here is it gives you an annual overview. It gives you a high level overview of months where you spent the most and months where you spent the least, right? So look, if you look here, in February we spent a lot of money. In January, I believe we spent some money as well. In March, we didn't spend that much, but then again, our numbers are just all made up. So once you have accurate numbers, you're gonna have accurate kind of pie charts, kind of give you a visualization of like what you're doing, right? And here we have monthly expenses versus monthly income. So those are just these two columns, right? The blue one is the monthly total expense, and the slightly orange one is the total monthly income. And you can actually change these graphs to look like whatever you want them to look like. You don't have to keep them as is. You can actually change them here. If you want to look like this, you can do that. You want to look like this, you can do that. You want to look like whichever one you want to look like, you can change it to suit. So that's what you have, your monthly expenses versus monthly income. And the monthly cash flow is how much money you have over. So that's after all your expenses are paid, how much do you have left? That's money that you can put towards your savings, towards a house, towards a big purchase that you're planning to make. So yeah, so that's it for today's video. I hope that you found this video very helpful. If you do want the sheet, I will leave a link below the description box in this video. If you have any questions, please you can comment on this video. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe. I really appreciate your support. I don't take it for granted at all, and I really hope that you find this helpful, because I think it's time that our generation really starts taking personal finance very seriously. Some of us grew up without having these mentors kind of coach us through some of these things, and even with credit and all these other things. So I'm really happy that I'm able to even share this with you guys. I really hope that you guys' support can help me go a long way. So please just share this video. I'll include a link. I'll share it as well for free downloads. If you want to download it, feel free to download the sheet. If you want to add your own modifications, feel free to do that. Continuous improvement is what we're looking for here. You can't improve what you can't measure, right? That's the whole point of this sheet. So yeah, so just I hope you enjoy the content. Just comment below what's your favorite feature about this sheet. What would you like to see more of in this sheet? And just in general, if you enjoyed anything about the channel, anything about this session, just let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful day / evening if you're in a different time zone, and stay G'd up.